Hello, everyone. My name is Bernadette Smith from Equality Institute. My pronouns are she, her, and I am joined today by my good friend Seema Jain from Global. Would you like to introduce yourself, Seema?
Sure, Bernadette. Thank you for having me today. Again, my name is Seema Jain. My pronouns are she, her, and I'm with Seva Global. It's a cultural advisory company. Thank you for having me.
It's my pleasure, and I'm so glad to be your partner in this kind of awesome work that we both do, supporting organizations on their DEI and cultural competency journeys. It's fun to work with you. We've known each other for a while, and it's
Mhm.
been kind of cool to watch our careers evolve. Okay, so welcome everyone. We are here for 5 things in 15 minutes, which is a weekly LinkedIn live show I host on LinkedIn with a special guest every week, during which we talk about 5 pieces of information, 5 stories that I find to be good news, good vibes, inspiring, all related to diversity, equity, and inclusion or corporate social responsibility. And I find these stories every week. I share them in a newsletter that goes out on Saturday mornings, which you can subscribe to following the link, theequalityinstitute.com/join. And then on Mondays, we do a quick video recap of these 5 things to get you inspired for the week ahead. All right, Seema, ready to get going?
Absolutely.
We are.
Thank you for including me, and I look forward to talking to you today.
All right. So we're going to start with the census. So the census data came out about a week or so ago,
Mhm.
week and a half or so ago now. And the data really showed in the US that the country is becoming increasingly racially and ethnically diverse. And some would suspect quicker than more than many would have realized. So, for
Mhm.
example, among young children 18 or younger, white folks are no longer the majority of the population. In fact,
Mhm.
there is no majority among that age by race among that age group. Also, the populations of Asian American and Latinx folks have gone up exponentially
Mhm.
by 20 to 30%. And the multiracial status has grown exponentially as well to about mixed race folks, about 10% of the population. So, a lot of significant changes to the US Census in 10 years. Your thoughts?
Absolutely. I loved this part of your newsletter. And for those of you who don't subscribe, you absolutely need to. Saturday morning is my joy to see her 5 facts and good vibes that come through with other companies. So I thank you, Bernadette, for always starting my weekend off great. But what I love about this part of the census is the fact that, yes, our landscape is changing in our country. And the Gen Z, which is our new future workforce coming up, is 50% non white. So, from my perspective with cultural competency, making sure that people know how to effectively interact with people of different backgrounds is important because that's who we're going to be hiring. And that generation, I do have a member on my team from Gen Z, and I look at them and see what are they looking for when they go out into the workforce. And they're looking for companies that probably have strong DEI initiatives, have strong cultural competency, and are not doing it for lip service, but doing it because it's the authentic thing to do. So I think these stats are great. One thing I found out is also that the Hispanic population is probably the largest, but the Asian American one is the fastest growing one. So people sometimes get confused on that as well.
Absolutely. And you know what's interesting is that, well, I mean, there's so much data. You know this. There's so much data about the importance of diversity, equity, and inclusion. But this is incredibly powerful. And what
Hmm.
I mean, it's indisputable. Like
Yep.
the numbers are there. So if not now, when? Like this is the time to actually take positive, proactive, meaningful steps towards a more diverse, equitable, and inclusive workforce, which I guess, Seema, this is probably a good time to plug my book, Inclusive
Yes.
360, which is coming out on September 21st. And you can pre-order at inclusive360book.com
Well,
because
and
it's time to actually take these steps.
absolutely. And I love your book. I'm waiting to get those first orders. It's going to be my gift this fall to many of my clients and just people to open up their eyes. The beauty you bring to the book, Bernadette, is I think you write in a very simplistic, easy to understand form. It's not high level PhD, it's coming to people that can really understand and do something with it right away. So that's the way I like your style. And I think many people appreciate that.
Thank you. I appreciate you saying that. I mean,
Mhm.
the whole point with this newsletter and the book is honestly to show that these are real, there are real
Mhm.
solutions that people can take right now to build a more diverse, equitable, and inclusive organization. So, and that's
Absolutely.
what's in the book. It's very solutions oriented, and so is the newsletter. So let's get to some more solutions.
That's right. I love
Okay.
it.
Next up is that the state of Illinois, where we both live, passed a law banning natural hair discrimination in schools. Now,
Mhm.
this law was written and passed because kids have been punished for their natural hair. And it's typically Black kids that are punished for their natural hair. I mean, there have been stories of teachers cutting locks and braids. I mean, horrible, horrible stories. And this law was passed proactively in case those types of things continue to happen in the future. It's the kind of law that I'm like, I'm glad it exists, but holy cow, like showing my privilege, never would have thought that that was something that folks have to deal with.
Yeah, absolutely, Bernadette. And I was a little shocked when I read this because I didn't even realize that people had gotten punished for this. I feel like, growing up as a first generation Indian and going to school, I could have had a nose ring, which is very typical in my culture, but maybe I would have gotten punished that I'm trying to connect with my cultural identity. So I didn't do it by choice, but there's many things of different cultures that want us to be connected to our heritage or our identity, and I think it's great for children to feel that they can do that in free, safe space. So this might be one example, but I'm hoping that, schools see it as a connection for children to be proud of who they are and where their heritage is coming from.
Exactly. I mean, every kid is beautiful regardless of what they're, I mean, it's just
It was a little bit
well,
of a shock, and then I'm glad you brought it to our attention because honestly, I wouldn't even know that that was an issue. But when I heard this, I was like, wow, I didn't expect this, but I'm glad that they have at least now made it a law that you cannot do anything for children who want to express themselves to identify with their culture.
exactly. All right, the next bit of good news is that there has been an exponential increase in the
Yes.
recruitment efforts and the attention that historically Black colleges and universities, HBCUs, have received in the past year. So there are about 107 HBCUs here in the US with about 228,000 students. And since the racial justice uprisings of about a year ago, these colleges have received unprecedented
Mhm.
amount of recruitment and donations, which has
Mhm.
been amazing. So I think it's going to continue to build that pipeline.
Yeah, I agree with you, Bernadette, that I think, unfortunately, it took one man's life of George Floyd for all of this to come through. What my hope is, and I'm so proud that people are donating, are looking for talent acquisition, they're doing all these things. I just hope it's sustainable and that they don't see it as a trend, that they keep this up because it's the right thing to do. My youngest daughter goes to IU, Kelly Business School. And I remember the first year when we went there was a big sign that said, diverse workforces rise above, and that companies with diverse workforces actually do better financially. So I'm hoping, when I saw that, I actually took a screenshot of it and put it into one of my presentations. But I think this is great that that finally over all this time this is happening, the talent acquisition, the donations. I am just praying that it is here to stay.
I agree. I agree. I mean, some of the companies that have made contributions have made multi-year commitments or
Mhm.
endowments. I mean, there has been more of that, which shows that there's the hope of sustainability,
Yeah.
but because of the diversity that we're seeing according to the census, right? I just hope that further inspires companies to keep this up because this
Mhm.
matters. It's not just to check the box. These things
Correct.
are they're meaningful, and this is a way to, by recruiting Black students from these colleges. I mean, 228,000 right now. I mean, that's a
Mhm.
significant amount of folks, right?
Yes.
Who could be getting well-paying jobs,
Mhm.
and that ultimately reduces the racial wealth gap.
Yeah.
It's a long
Agree.
road. but you
It
got to
is, but I'm
start.
exactly. I agree. And, small steps will lead to great strides. So it will come together.
Exactly. All right. So next up, this is a rare move for the retail industry,
Hmm.
but Old Navy has decided to integrate its plus size clothes for women. So instead of having a regular women's department and then plus size, it's all going to be integrated. Which I mean, that seems again like it should be obvious that that
Hmm.
should be the way it is, but it is actually very uncommon.
Yeah.
But this move does destigmatize fatness and it is inclusive, even if it is probably financially driven. It still is significant.
Yeah, absolutely. That was such a great story to read. Like Old Navy, shop there often. And I love the fact of this inclusivity that they've done as a company. I remember shopping at an athletic store one year and remember seeing the images on the wall. And the best part of the images, Bernadette, it wasn't all people looking the same. They were not just ethnicity and race, it was body sizes and types that were different. And I appreciated that because it was showing realness. It was being actually true to who people are. So, in a world where we're trying to even help our young girls or young men become strong and good self esteem, they don't need to see, all everybody looking the same like a real, like a model. People are who they are. We're designed with different body types. And I think it's beautiful that, Old Navy has taken that step. I'm sure other retail industries will do similar type of work and they might be the leader in this. But I think it's great. I mean, you and I have talked about website images. When you look on websites, how do we see people? Is it all one ethnicity? Is it all one race? Is it all looking the same? We want to see that diversity. So by pulling everybody together, it's definitely a great inclusivity decision that they made as a company.
I agree, and I'm in favor in general of integration. So size integration, certainly. I
Mhm.
mean, why should people need to feel othered? And
Yep,
there should not just be one standard of beauty, right? And it's time to
agree.
move away from what that is and what that has historically looked like,
Mhm.
and continue to embrace all different types of bodies, all different types of beauty. And it's a really cool move for Old Navy, and I expect that we'll start to see other retailers do the same.
Agree.
Okay, the last story for this week, Seema, is about the dramatic increase of women working in the National Football
Mhm.
League, the NFL. The
Mhm.
NFL now has 12 female coaches, 12 female scouts, and about 40% of women in office roles. So it's pretty impressive for
Mhm.
a male sports league, especially one that's like extra male like NFL, to have this many women.
Yeah.
And I think it's very impressive, but it doesn't happen by accident. And what I love about this is that it shows what happens when you set real goals and when you're
Yeah.
very intentional and proactive about making these changes.
I agree. I mean, this was a great story, right? Something unique, something different, and I'm sure other sports will take on a similar type of suit with this, and they might be, leading it on. But what I also liked about this article when I read further, it wasn't just trying to get more women. They were striving for, if I believe I read correctly, that 50% should be people of color. So even not just women only, but even going further on. And I think that's great. Like you said, it's intentional. They're looking to do this purposely because honestly, it's the right thing to do. And you and I know that looking at where our future is going, this is what's going to be happening. So, companies like Old Navy, organizations like, NFL, these are great stories that you bring, Bernadette. And truly, before my workout every Saturday morning, I take a quick skim, read it later afterwards. But I truly enjoy your effort in finding these to help us learn best practices from other companies. So it may not be something that I can do, but oh wow, that's an idea that I could share and continue on the great work that people are doing.
Yeah, thank you. I'm excited about all of these different ideas, and again, they are practical. Listen,
Yeah.
it's not gonna happen by accident to diversify your workforce in that way. It does require intention. It does
Mhm.
require goal setting. It requires accountability. But if you do those things, you make those commitments, you work on it, you set it as standing agenda items, these things work. And every week you will find solutions just like these, inspiring stories just like these in five things. So thank you
Yeah.
so much for joining today. Thank you, Seema, for being an
Absolutely.
awesome co-host. And if you don't already get 5 things, please join us at theequalityinstitute.com/join. And buy my book, Inclusive360book.com. Thank you, everybody. Have a great week.
Bye, everyone. Thanks,
Thanks,
Bernadette.
Seema.
Mhm.